Next up, we got another sphere.
2 years later, the Voyager sphere, the first CG sphere.
Yeah. This one, again, is very different than the one we saw in First Contact.
Yeah.
A lot darker, and again, not quite as... I don't know if smooth would be the word, but there's sections of this that definitely protrude more so than the rest of it. And it's just... Again, it's an interesting shape.
And obviously the green light illumination, that's now in, which is definitely important. It feels more raw. There's less small detail, and the big detail's thicker. And it gives it kind of like just a more stuck together raw appearance. Like Workhorse, you know?
Yeah.
And then another interesting standout, and this is when Dark Frontier happened. They threw a lot of new stuff at us. The Borg Probe, which was shown at the start of a Voyager episode, torpedoed, beamed in, and then blown up, and then never seen again. So here's the Borg Probe. Thoughts?
I remember playing against these things in Armada.
Yeah.
So these shapes weren't new to me. But it's, again, very cool. And this actually does tie in with the one we see in Data Lore. This is kind of the shape of those pods.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying with that. And we've actually done an episode on this with Icheb joining us. Manu and Tereme joined us for that. And it was fun learning about this one. But yes, again, got the green glow. Not very big. And kind of like a pill-shaped or a torpedo shape, which is odd.
Although bigger than Voyager still.
Yes.
Cause,
I meant not very big compared to a cube.
Yeah, yeah. Tiny. Yeah, it's like more of a pill. I mean, it's a geometric shape that has more character. And again, feels very... Well, this is a probe. The hell... Okay. What a weird thing. But I love the detailing. It's very... I mean, this one's a really nice high detail mesh. It's all about the little details. I mean, you get really close to it in the show. A lot of pipes, a lot of pieces.
And the good thing about the Borg, you can say, is every time you see them, they're going to be different because they're always assimilating new life forms, getting new information, new things they can refine. So it's an evolving culture or species, or just every time you see them, they can be different and yet the same. It's just refinements, and I think that's very cool.
And to double down on that, the fact is, cubes with no idea how long they've existed. I would guess hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So a Borg cube that was in 2130, that's as at this point of the simulation point. Well, if it's still got the basic technology, they're not going to, it's going to improve as it goes, but the design is going to feel different than a brand new cube, design built, whatever, because of just, like I say, 30 more species built a different part of the quadrant, different materials, what they had available. You know what I mean? It's going to be, every cube's going to be a little bit different, as we've seen. They're all different. Mm-hmm. And speaking of different, the next one, same year, same special, I believe we get introduced to the Borg Diamond. Not called the Borg Diamond in the show, it's the Queen's ship. Double down on what you said about the sphere. This is the Queen's ship.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I found it interesting that the Queen had a different shape than the rest of the fleet, because there's that individuality there almost that she has to stand out, which is odd.
She wants
considering
to look pretty.
Yeah, which is odd considering their mentality. However, with a hive of bees, the Queen is marked differently so that the drones can recognize her. So it makes sense, even in that fleet context, that her ship would be different. And again, it's a very cool shape. Not necessarily a diamond shape even, because there are those different cutouts and stuff in it. It's very layered and very eccentric, very, very odd in its design, but very cool. I do like the fact that it's got both blue or purple, I guess.
Yeah.
Purple and green lighting, which is another distinctive
yellow
feature. Yeah.
Even some yellow.
So very cool ship. I really like this one. And
And there's a little bit of fun backstory behind this. We'll talk about it in a full episode. But yeah, it was the concept was put forward, and then Brandon McDougall, who we know, who is one of the big Voyager ones, who did Devore, Dauntless, Prometheus, he built the ship, and this one is really proud of because the level of detail. It is a much smaller ship, so that involves more detail to get closer to it, and it was seen in close-ups. This is one of the highest detail ships in all of Voyager. Obviously, it's like you build half it, you clone it. I mean, it's all repeat pieces, but it is really high detail. It was also really difficult to light because it was only in a couple of shots in a couple of ways. I mean, this is the best I could do. It's not. It's weird. But I really I feel like I got a sense of this first in Armada, the ship.
Yes. Yep.
And so for me, I've always pictured it more as that specialist ship. 'Cause in the game, that was the one that had the 4 abilities. I think it was 4. You know, this is the specialist ship with the most advanced technology, the most advanced specialist things. And in the show, this is the ship that leads an assimilation party to assimilate an entire race. You know, I assume this is the one that fired a specialist torpedo that did the thing that they do in the episode. You know, this is an absolute. This is the creme de la creme of tech. You know, for the Borg, because it's the Queen's personal thing. And I think they do say, you know, she has got another version of her chambers, which is in the Borg Unicomplex in this ship. So it is, you know, a mobile center for her leadership. And since we know there are more than one Queen, you know, we see her die, then come back, and then die again. You know, there's probably a few of these. I mean, like I said, I know it's a special ship. Does that work better for you if it's more like the Queen's only using it because it's the most advanced?
Well, why aren't all the ships like that then?
Well, different purposes. If you can assimilate a race with a cube, why would you use this? You got less drones. You can't put new drones on it. It's not got space. If you assimilate anybody, they're not going to do anything. Hasn't got the space to put new technology on the planet. I mean, you know, it's a different kettle of wax.
Well, yeah. That being said, I don't think we're going to show it here, but there's also the Borg pyramid shapes that were in Armada 2, I believe,
yeah. Yep.
that sent out, and they each launched a beam at a planet and assimilated a planet like really quickly with these, and they're pyramid shaped. So again, specialized.
Great concept.
I don't think they were actually ships per se. I think they were more weapons. Those ones.
Well, they're nanoprobe delivery systems.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, they kind of take this shape and cut it in half, and basically that's what you're looking at with those. So
yeah.
But yeah. Next shape is the Death Star of the Star Trek universe. Wow. Just move that up a little bit so it's not center. And this is what they wanted to avoid when they came up with the sphere initially. They didn't want it to look like the Death Star at all. The texturing obviously makes it look different, but at first glance, I can see a lot of people that aren't sci-fi fans saying that's the Death Star.
And do you remember this appearance? Do you remember the ship from the show?
I don't specifically know. No.
So this ship is in like 3 shots of Voyager because they needed it. This is meant to be a Borg sphere, but in the episode where Voyager, Annika Hansen 709 has the whole, you know, friendly Borg while in regeneration bit, they make the whole independence. You know, the Borg sphere has to try and interrupt the data network, and it has to use its deflector dish. The spheres don't have that technology, so they had to build a new version with the deflector dish, so they could use the deflector dish, and then it's in a battle later on.
Right.
So that's its only appearance. It's never brought up again. It's coloured differently slightly. There's a few little different details. This is a custom one-off, but it shows that the spheres are likely, you know, you build them, you design them, you change them as you need. You know, this is a deflector variant. I just thought it was quite interesting. It's like there are multi-purpose versions, you know?
Yeah. Very cool looking ship, though, for sure.
And you would miss if you didn't realise it was a completely different ship because they don't have this on the normal Borg sphere. I should know. And the last ship of the Borg Armada is the Borg Tactical Cube. And this was 2 years later, right at the end of Voyager.
This makes more sense to me. This has armor plating, protecting vital systems, you would assume. And it looks menacing. It looks more on par with regular ships that we see that just have regular hull plating. It's not so random and sporadic. This looks more unified. And it makes sense to me to have this kind of armor plating on here. So I like the tactical cubes. They're really cool.
And it looks just kick-ass, doesn't it? It lights better. It has there's gun ports. Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, Doug Drexler, they asked him, how do you make a tactical version of the cube? And it's like, what? But it's so
you armor it.
yeah, it's so simplistic. I mean, obviously, if you really want to make a tactical cube, you just make the whole thing one big this armor. But I mean, we know nothing about them. It could be that there was materials limited, so they only built a certain amount, or that they worked out that hey, the rest of it could regenerate. I mean, to be fair, you could argue that I think they said in the TNG episode it was like 20-30% of the Borg cube needs to be remaining to regenerate still. So, you know, they could say that if we're armoring up this amount of the cube, it doesn't matter how much of the other bit of the cube gets damaged, it will always be able to regenerate. So by having, you don't need to waste it by having too much armor, which takes resources and pulls away from other. If they want 10 tactical cubes, better to have 10 than to have 5, whatever. Obviously they're building it at a ridiculous rate because they're the Borg, but it's a cool idea. It does spring of a more individuality concept. Part of the fun of the Borg was that they only have cubes, they're only this one design. But having wasn't Law, who was the Borg that having Hugh infect them with some individuality, and then the Queens appear, and you could argue that the little things that changed them because of that, so you could argue this is a more original version because they're starting to get more thinking.
Or because of their encounters with species 8472 where they couldn't defeat them, and they had quite advanced weaponry, this could be a way to counteract that the damage that was being caused by them. All they need to do is run into one species that can actually damage them and harm them, and they're going to adapt to fix that. So that's what this says to me, is that they ran into somebody, probably the Undine, species 8472, that they couldn't defeat. So the best way to do that is to protect their vital components and be able to regenerate the ship as needed.
That's brilliant. It's specialist those cubes are getting annihilated in seconds. But if you can armor up, and then those big particle cannons are in all the corners, so you've got the weapons. If shoot here, okay, and we'll fire at you with big guns. That's brilliant. Although embarrassingly it wasn't effective enough to take on Voyager properly, but that's a plot thing.
That's Voyager, and it's a hero ship, and Janeway's in charge, and lots of coffee.
So that is all the ships. And I just want to quickly go back through just the cubes to see the evolution. Yes. So why don't you start, and then we'll just sort of jump through them and just say that I guess the notable thing we see is just a singular mind version.
Yeah. So the first one is, of course, the one that's not lit. It's gray. It's again, this is the one that Q introduced them to. Scary because they were so faceless, and they just had this unified voice, and it was coming after them, and damage didn't. The torpedoes didn't stop it. It was just terrifying to see.
It was a blank wall of death.
Yes, this is the first one, and really left an impression in a lot of people's minds, for sure.
Yeah. So. And the next one obviously has a bigger color palette, has reflectors. You'd say it has a spec, it has some lights, it has more life to it. Mm-hmm. And this is where we start to wonder, if there's 10 billion or 10 million cubes with 70 trillion drones, the first cube was a random cube that Q sent them to. This cube was sent to assimilate Earth. So surely you would have a different variant. So this version could be an assimilation cube. So hence the difference in look, feel, and design slightly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the next one, of course, is from First Contact. Again, much more menacing looking. It's got that green element, which makes it look almost venomous or sickly, which is very scary. And the fact that it's just kicking so much ass in this battle scene, just one of them. And the surface detail again here is very much more random. There's larger sections and smaller sections. It's not quite as unified as the last two.
It feels more armored though, as well.
Yes, absolutely. It also feels bigger, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Anyway, that's the big screen version of the cube, and really is the definitive. This and the Voyager one are pretty much on par as far as definitive Borg cubes go.
Yeah, this is 7 years later, post their defeat, and obviously having to. The tech improvement from the Wolf 359 ships to these ships is actually quite a lot. We really upped our game. So the fact that it's got the self-illumination, it feels more advanced. So this is more. We sent just. Come on, the amount of species of Borg assimilate is a lot. So they just sent cube number we sent the Queen inside of a cube. This is a top liner cube. Mm-hmm. Hence the update. So I totally buy that. Which then jumps to the Voyager cube, which we see on the Delta Quadrant cubes. Now my rationale would be this is more cube of the line because we're in the homeland and we are in their space specifically because that's when we see them in Voyager. So this is like the bog standard but the current level of cube, and you can imagine they would then refit all the cubes to be modern cubes. So this is like we've got the self-illumination, we've got a different style plating, we've advanced them all the time. This is like the workhorse cube.
And I think it should be pointed out too at this point that during the course of all Star Trek, the sizes of the cubes vary quite substantially.
Yeah.
From like 3 kilometers each side to 800 meters or something stupid.
Yeah, well, that's the whole joke, isn't it? In Voyager, all the cubes are actually 1 kilometer because it's perspective based. It's not the real size, because Voyager's like a third the size. So if the cube was the real size, it would look stupid. So they scaled that down to look in proportion to Voyager. So actually, all the Borg cubes, they're smaller, which is why the tactical Borg cube must be only 1 kilometer cubed, because that's the only appearance, and it's the CG version, and it's only the size it was given. That's what I argue anyway. And it makes sense to have small cubes. Why wouldn't you? Different purposes. And in fact, then jump to this last cube, then the tactical cube. Why not make it smaller? Why not make focus it? Have the armor, have the strength. Make it's a warship cube. And
as you said with the Voyager cubes, they're in the Delta Quadrant. They're in the heart of the Borg territory, basically. So why do they have to be so big? They don't. They have more cubes to back them up.
Yeah.
And the fact that the ones that are out further, like assimilating Earth, assimilated a bunch of crap along the way, adding to their ship, making it much larger. It just makes sense, because they would use the components from other ships and things that they ran into to add to their ship. So the bigger cubes out further make a lot of sense. Now, one thing that's not here is the hypercube or the supercube. What's it called?
Oh, God.
The tactical fusion cube.
Yeah, love those.
Where they fuse 8 tactical cubes together into one super cube. But that's another tech that the Borg have, where they can fuse the cubes together, and the tactical fusion cube is just power. So where did we see the tactical fusion cubes? Well, there's
It's Armada 2. Yeah, it's Armada 2.
Okay, yeah.
So really, we should do just a ships Armada 2. I think that's been a long time coming. But and I think you're right. This is the post refit 8472. We lost that war almost cube. And actually, when you really look at just the cubes, there's absolutely a reason for an evolution and purpose. It wasn't so clear until we said this. I really dig it, actually, the evolution and the different designs.
So it works. So anyway, guys, if you want to help us evolve, you can do so. You can do so by putting your comments down below. Let us know what you think of the Borg cubes. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and head on over to Patreon. Link in the description below. You can help us out on a monthly basis. That'll help us evolve and make even better cubes and better episodes. Or you can head on over to Trekyards.com and click the donate button to launch that Borg the sphere thing, and send a big Borg sphere our way, full of money, and help us out with the show.
Thanks, guys, in advance.
But you can help us out in other ways too. He'll tell you about that, I'm sure.
You can just help us out by sharing, by getting involved in our Facebook, which you could then share our videos on other Facebooks. It's all interconnected, guys. Like this hive mind of Trekyards, be part of the connection, watch our videos, enjoy the new renders and the new thoughts, and just look at a different context. Not many people have done this breakdown of actually in chronological order, because it's different. And amazingly, since Trek designers do think about these things, it kind of connects, kind of works. Amazing, despite being designed 30 years apart between them. So share, subscribe to this YouTube channel, like us on Facebook. We've got a group and a page. Check out for our tweets on Twitter and all different social media networks, and just Google Trekyards and we're there somewhere. So until next time, another great topic. I am Commander Cockins.
And I am Captain Foley.
And we'll see you next time.
That's right. You got to come back, because resistance is futile, don't you know? Bye, guys.
Bye.